Good afternoon, or good morning, good day. Welcome to another session of Canvas Live. Canvas Live sessions are presented by the Canvas community members or instructor employees to help Canvas users improve and enhance their teaching and learning with Canvas. Today, we are continuing the LTI series that we have in the Canvas Live section. My name is B. Rai. I'm a community manager here at Instructure, and with me,
Nicholas Demas.
And he's also a trainer here at Instructure. And we're going to kind of deep dive a little bit into the LTI, the Google LTI app, and see how it differs from just leveraging Google alongside Canvas. So today we're talking about accessing your assets, your files, your course materials, and how it differs when you have the LTI installed versus when you don't. But just to kind of frame everything, just to kind of, what is the Google LTI? Well, the Google LTI allows users to leverage more Google tools and functionalities within Canvas. So in the real world, that means less toggling between Google Classroom and Canvas. You have a lot of the permissionings that are kind of already created for you so that you can do a lot of the sharing and using and collaborating. Of course, how do you install the Google LTI? You can install it at the account level or you can install it at the course level. The process is the same, so I'll just review the process of how that would work. First, you want to add the LTI through EduApps, configure the LTI, and then authorize access so that you can sync Google in with Canvas. And the easiest way to do this is to go into your course settings and click on the Apps tab, do a search for the Google Apps, and that's how you would install it into your Canvas instance or your course. But and it'll present you with a pop-up that will allow you to put a consumer key and a shared secret. And to get that information, you would then have to go to the EduApp Center. So just go to eduappcenter.com. do a search for Google Apps, and at the bottom of that, you have to kind of scroll down a little bit. There will be a link that says that you can generate the key or secret to install the tool here. And so you would click on that link and generate the LTI key and secret, and then cut and paste those and go back and paste them right here. And so that's kind of the way you would install it. And then at some point when you're accessing Google in your course, you'll be presented with an authorization if this is the first time that you're accessing it. Okay, so the point of this particular session is to kind of deep dive a little bit more into how the LTI works when it comes to your course materials, your files, and the things that you typically need to share either in modules and course pages and other areas of the course. So we're going to dive a little bit into files, how it works in files, the rich content editor or the content importer, where you're adding things to your course, and in the module level, how files are added at the module. So let's talk about files in Google. And I'm going to go ahead and sort of give you what it would look like if you didn't have the LTI, because a lot of these things are still possible. Google is very good at working and a lot of the functionality of Google Apps, and especially when it comes to your course, your documents and your spreadsheets and the course materials that you have in your Google Drive. A lot of this still works even if you don't have the LTI. And then I'll hand it over to Nick, who will talk to you about like how it changes or streamlines a lot of these efforts when you do have the Google LTI enabled. So if you wanted to add some files in your Files tab in your course, the way you might consider doing it would be if it's just one or two files, for example. You might download, for instance, from your Google Drive, like the file itself, and then come over to Canvas and actually upload that file in there. And one advantage of doing that, of course, would be when you're building out your courses or when you're building out your pages, you would have the access to that file on the right in the content importer, and it would just link it to, just like everything else, it would link it back into the areas of the course that you would want it to be there. Another way that you could potentially bring those files, embed them in the course outside of the file menu would be, one of our community members, Jacob Standish, he created an excellent blog post about embedding your actual file structure, whether it be in list view or folder view, into a Canvas page. So once again, if you're interested in sort of sharing these folders or list of resources with your students, this could be another option instead of enabling files or keeping files visible in the tab in your course menu and having students access files that way. With this way, I think you'd have to be a little bit more proactive in making sure the permissioning and things like that from the Google side is set such a way that students can access the stuff. So that's where files kind of, you can still integrate files into your Canvas course and into your Canvas files area. It would just take just a couple of different steps to get there. So then let's look at the rich content editor and how you would leverage files or course resources with Google and in Canvas. Of course, if you have direct links to your files in Google Drive and you're sharing it, you can grab the link and embed the link into your into the text, into the course. In this example, I'm showing how you can embed a link into a page using the link, insert the link. So that's one way. Another way, of course, if you are wanting to embed a page, a document, instead of having it inline with the link, you can embed it into a page by going to Google, publishing your content to the web, unless everyone in your school or everyone in your class has permission to view that particular content item so that they don't get an error when they get to the page. But in order to sort of avoid that, if there are people that don't have sort of permissioning concerns, you might want to publish your document to the web, grab the embed code, and then come back into Canvas and then use that embed code in your page. And then when you go to publish that, you have a page that has the content embedded already in there. And then, of course, there's modules. So similar process. There are two ways you can link to your files in Google through modules. One is if you have imported it into your Files tab, then you can just add it as a course file in modules. The other way is if you have the link to the resource or to the file in Google, then you can just add it as an external URL and then add that into modules. So both look something like this. And up until this point, you're creating those resources, you're allowing students to have access to those resources without the LTI engaged. So this is kind of what it would look like. So I'm going to hand it over to Nick, who's going to talk to you about how, once you've enabled the LTI, how these processes that I just showed you are streamlined, are less clicky, I guess, if that's a word, and yeah, so go ahead.
Thanks, B. Wright. Let's just say that clicky is a good thing to avoid when we're working through technology. I judge technology by clickiness. So let's talk a little bit about Google itself and get into just some of the less clickiness and the streamlining of the process. So when you install Google app, and you have Google LTI integrated with your Canvas instance, you're going to be able to see that in your course navigation menu. There it is, my Google Drive. I'm going to select that option, and you're going to be seeing a lot of information here coming in from different components of my life as a trainer and instructor, working with our awesome training team and delivering content all over the place. But you'll see that I've linked this to my Google Drive through my work account, and here I am. I have different folders that I can access. I can even search through these folders to, again, help me streamline the process. The old process is to have Google open in a separate tab so that I can work through this information. So here I can go through, see what I have, go through the organization, and work through those different components. Now, I'm going to go from there and talk a little bit about Google and the rich content editor. Since as the training team, we really push people to be module-driven in their courses, understanding that things are going to change for your different styles. But As a module-driven training team, I'm going to be building from modules today. So let's jump into this page that I built ahead of time, just so you don't have to watch me go through that entire process. And I'm going to go to this page and edit. So here I am. I have arrived at my content page. When it comes to bringing in the Google documents or spreadsheets, I can now just go directly to my Google app piece in the rich content editor. And when I've done so, I will have two options. I can link or embed the file that I'm bringing in. Let me just go through this folder right here, and that's the one I'm working out of. Cloud assignment. Specific course. I'm becoming more and more organized as we go along. And I'm going to bring in this one that is associated with this course and just bring in that link. There we go. I provided a link to the file that I want students, or the document that I want students to be interacting with. Just go ahead and save and publish that, and there's a file for the students. It's going to open in a new tab, and they'll be able to go through and be able to see this information. Now understand that this is going to appeal to a certain segment of the population, and that's fine. I will say that my preferred method is to actually go through the embed so that I can keep students on site and here in Canvas and working through that material themselves. Let's go back in and pull in the Google app. I'm just going to go through the same folder again. I will say that it's good to be organized as you're working through this information. Organization is going to help you find things quickly. Although, again, you have that search menu. I do understand that Google Docs and material have a way of multiplying a little bit more quickly than what you'd like to see. All right, so this time instead of link, I'm going to select embed, and it's going to, Canvas will embed this piece into the rich content editor. Now, just like when you're embedding YouTube or even ARC videos or other pieces, you're going to have that big gray area. And that's okay. We'll save and publish, and the gray will go away. This wasn't that extensive of a Google Doc. I mean, I just called it this as a Google Doc. The cool thing, though, is I've set it up, and now I can type and make edits. Because we've all gone through that time where, oh, you know what, we forgot one question that we want to include or key point that we want to make. Now, instead of going back over to Google and then waiting for Canvas to refresh that update, if I were going through the embed option, I'm making these changes directly into Canvas. And let's just do, for good measure, let's do a spreadsheet. All right, so I just went into another page. Again, this stuff was already set up in modules, and I'm just adding the content now, working through my structuring through modules to make sense of this and to give myself a bit of a flow as I'm working through this. Going through the same folder again. And I'm going to select this spreadsheet this time, and I'm also going to embed this spreadsheet. Save and publish that option. If you're listening to clicks, I've made like 3 clicks per session, and I'm not clicking, selecting, adding, but instead I'm going through here and I'm bringing in the stuff directly. So also with the chance to edit rather than going to the new area to make those edits.
So we do have a question that kind of ties into what you're showing, Nick. Will students have edit access from their view when something like this is embedded?
Let's see. So I've just switched over to a different frame, and I'm in as a student. I did publish those, didn't I? It's all published, okay.
I think that if they have access to edit in the permissions, I think that's where you would have to make sure. So I guess it looks like by default, the LTI creates the embed as a view only. And so I think if you wanted it to be something that you want students to kind of collaborate on, maybe, your option could be leveraging the collaboration tools, which will do a session on just the collaboration tools and how it integrates with Google LTI. Or you would have to then go instead, if you didn't want to do that and you wanted them to edit right on the page, you could go into your Google Drive and manually override the permissions so that when it does come here, people can edit directly on the page.
All right. So the last piece we wanted to showcase, we've added a few pieces of documents. We've done the link. We've also provided the embed. So let's actually go in and use modules now and build it through a module. So I'm going to the plus module within the module. And in the pull-down menu, I'm going to select External Tool. And this will give me access in my external tools to take a look at all those different external tools, including our Google Drive. And within Google Drive, we're going to go through the same process of finding the file that I want to bring in. And I can then bring in the component. I selected the component. Now my last step is to actually add the item. And there we go. Let's publish that and take a look at it. All right, there's the same piece. It's been added multiple times. From the student view, it should not be that much different. Let's go to the student view, and also let's check the accessibility on it as well, just to make sure, see if that changes anything between what a student can access in it or not. Looks like we are view only for the student as well.
Another question came in, and the question reads from Shara Johnson: I have teachers wanting to bring in more than one Google Doc into a module at a time. Is it possible at this time, or is it just like with files, you just have to add them one at a time?
I think it's going to be one at a time, but why don't we try it out, Shara, and see what happens. All right, so I'm going to go back to one of those. So you mean it as an external tool or as within the content page? I think in the content or in the rich content editor that we'll be able to add more than one. Whereas I think it's going to be a little bit different if we're going to have to do one at a time through external tools, I believe.
Another question comes in. So anyways, to follow up to Shara. So Shara, it looks like at this time, it doesn't mean that this won't change, but at this time, it looks like for at least the modules, you'll have to embed one at a time. Robert asks the question, can you show how a Google slide will look in the module view?
Sure, if we can pull one in. Let me just finish quickly with bringing in another document. Let's pull a different one in. There's one. Let's see what the other. Yep. So with to the content page, you can bring in more than one Google Doc. I would say I probably wouldn't do that just based on the clutter that happens with content pages when you do so. Now let's bring in a Google slide. I'm just going to set up a new content page in order to bring in the Google slide. All right. So the process is going to be the same for bringing in a Google slide as what we've done with the other pieces. I'm still going to go to the rich content editor, and this time, again, I'm going to pull in a Google app. I could have done that through modules using the external tool option as well. Now the question is, where is one of my slideshows? I'm going to embed this option. And when we do so, bringing in a slide, we'll be able to see the slide. One problem that we've run into when taking a look at the slide is that it comes in present mode, in prepare mode, not present mode. If we switch to present mode, we've noticed that sometimes it comes in as a black screen for that area. I would suggest for now, at least, to be vocal about this. And also, the second option would be to spend a little bit of time to go through the old process when bringing in slides. So old process where you get the embed code and add that to the HTML editor versus what we're doing now, the more streamlined process. This is one area where I would probably use the old process instead.
We have a question that came in from Emily, and she asks, has anyone had luck with getting links on an embedded Google Doc to open in a new window tab rather within the iframe? So it's an inline link.
I haven't tried it.
Okay.
I'll have to try that out. It's a good question. I think it would work.
Yes, another question comes in from Angus. And students can embed Google Drive objects in pages that they have access to. They have edit access to.
If they have edit access to, correct.
Correct.
So they should be able to do it through groups, or yes, if they're using some of the access that we're allowing through the rich content editor, through content pages.
So yeah, can we give a demo or try it on the link that opens in a new window?
Sure. All right, so just moving back to that first piece that we've added, accessing your assets. This is me doing this as the instructor. And that's how it looks. It basically takes you out to the Google document. Let me just jump in as the student. I'm going to do that screen switch. And let me go into that module as a student in order to take a look at this. And here I am as the student, going to jump out and do that as well. Again, as a student, it's a view-only write for the student. All right. So we had a request to take a student view of the slide page. Let me go in and jump in as a student through the student view. Also could have stayed Abraham Lincoln on this one and worked through it. So as a student, I'm going to go in a student view, need to authorize this. Need to log in and authorize. I haven't tried to authorize as a test student. Have you tried that out? I'm not sure it's going to tie to anything. Let me go back to the student instead on this. And so we'll do the actual student who has a login. This is Abraham Lincoln, my student. And the student's view is going to be that of the prepare mode of the actual slide deck. All right. I'm going to switch back over, and just to work through a couple final pieces with this, we want to talk about a few Google LTI tips. Let's actually start with the bottom. Consistent naming conventions between files, folders, etc. I think it's going to be a bit helpful as you work through this process. You know what to grab, and as you're placing it into the documents or into the rich content editor or throughout Canvas and modules through the external tool. I would say that, and this is partially personal preference, but when it comes to Google Docs and spreadsheets, I would recommend going with the embed over using the links to the outside sources, as again, you can keep students on site in Canvas to work through this material. And this is kind of going back to earlier in this presentation. We talked a little bit about you can add a Google app through both the course, and you can also do it at the account level. Well, we do recommend that if it is brought in at the account level, that you delete the course level integration so that you're not having two of everything as you're working through the pieces. All right.
Sounds good. I know we still have a lot of questions coming in. I know this was intended to be a 30-minute demo, and so we want to be respectful of your time. So I do have these questions up, and feel free to continue posting these questions both on the Google LTI release notes as well as the event page for this event, and we'll continue answering as much as what we know, keeping in mind that this is still we're all still sort of working through these, and these questions and these ideas that are being presented are great feedback. So we want to continue keeping that dialogue open. That said, we wanted to let you know that we still are diving into the series. We have 4 more of these to go. Next week, or not next week, but in 2 weeks, we do a Google LTI series where we're talking mostly about driving the course content and how it plays a role in the design of your course. We'll cover a little bit of the same thing, but we kind of go into more of how it goes into the assignments and things a little bit more. And then we also, as I see in the chat, everyone's trying different things and getting feedback. This is great, and so we want to encourage this to happen more at a later date too, as people have had the time over the last couple of months to work with the LTI. So if you're interested in sharing your observed practices, best practices, and things like that, we are putting together panel discussions in April where those of you who are interested in sharing and kind of working through some of the feedback, it would be great. So feel free to contact me directly. As always, to be notified of all the events that are happening in Canvas Live, feel free to go to the live.canvaslms.com page, follow the page itself. Anytime a new event is created, you will be notified of it. Feel free to join the Canvas Live user group. That's another place where you can reach out to me, and if you want to participate in this panel discussion that I spoke of earlier, that's a place that you can sort of vocalize that as well. But if you have ideas for other Canvas Live sessions that you want to work together and collaborate on with other community members, that's also a place that you can go to find colleagues. And then, of course, we have our Hangouts in our Google, in our Canvas chat rooms. So that's also a place where you can connect with fellow community members and people, and maybe start a discussion on Google LTI and just kind of troubleshoot together live along the way. So we want to make sure you have all avenues to continue these discussions so that we can continue to evolve this this integration based on all the feedback that you're getting. So this is really great. So I will continue reaching out to the people who have created questions. So you haven't been ignored. I'm definitely looking at your questions, and I will mention you at the bottom of the event page as we answer some of these questions, but please continue posting your questions there or the release notes related to the Google LTI integration. Thank you, Nick, for being here and showing us your demos. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Hopefully, we'll see you in a future session of Canvas Live or the next Google LTI.